G'day everyone, I'm Jazza, and in this video I'm remaking your original characters, which I've asked you to send me on Twitter and Instagram. Sorry, X and Instagram. Let's face it, we're all still calling it Twitter. There are hundreds, if not thousands of submissions, so first of all, thank you everyone for taking the time to share your awesome creations. Go check out the hashtag just to see people's awesome ideas and art. I'm gonna start off with this character created by JAZZA'S, which really struck me, not only because there's a cool design to start with, but the concept is really cool. A swamp mechanic making weapons out of scrap metal and wood. So cool sort of setting and character prompt, but they want me to play around with it. So jump into doing some brainstorm sketching, starting off with a bit of a sketch that is fairly reminiscent to the submission itself, mainly because I just want to reference on the page that I can turn to as I make my various tweaks. Throwing down a few heads, playing with a few visual styles, and honestly not quite knowing where I'm landing. But after I finished the third head, I went to look at the rest of JAZZA'S profile and saw a recent post with some more recent images, which actually kind of reminded me of Scott Pilgrim. So with a few Scott Pilgrim references by my side, I started to push the fourth drawings style in that direction. Not that cartoony, but with a little bit of that softness, those big round flat eyes, and generally rounder details. There's not a lot of detail on the initial character design when it comes to their outfit, aside from a few standout features. These bright green goggles that look almost crystalline, a very large glove that looks like a mix of like metal and almost like a bioluminescent green crystal substance, but otherwise he's fairly scantily clad, which I'm going to put down to being in the swamp. This character is always in a humid environment, so he's just wearing his backpack and straps and otherwise pants. I moved forward with a bit more of a refined sketching process to get down two depictions of this character, one showing the whole character in a more neutral stance, and the other a front-on, glove-up pose to reflect the original illustrations sent to me by the artist. Now, in approaching your original characters, it's important to me not just to reimagine or interpret the visual design, but also to sort of make as much sense as I can in my context of the plot or the setting, which informs the visual design. Combining that with the interesting glove and goggles, my interpretation is that he's from a planet very different to our own, where there's a rare material, one that's connected with some sort of energy force or dimension or something, and it's this substance that allows his mechanisms that he creates to hold energy and to be able to do things. And our protagonist here has the glove and the goggles to be able to see, control, and manipulate it. So now in adding the color to my creation, I stick to the original color scheme quite firmly. I really like there's a simplicity with a few standout punchy colors working in that fairly simplistic style inspired by Scott Pilgrim. With a few finishing touches on my color, I'm really happy with how this character's turned out. Thank you JAZZA'S for sending this in, and I hope you enjoy and are inspired by my recreation of your original character. This is wild. Everyone's got such cool imaginations. I really like this one by Evelyn Takas. I'm sorry. It's a character from my book. I tried to illustrate it, but I'm really bad at keeping body proportions. So the original prompts are light cyan skin, blue/cyan hair, a little bit messy, undead, wears high-tech armor with glowing strips, and has a scar under her left eye. Suffice it to say, there's a really cool foundation here, and I want to see where we end up with a bit of a play. Starting off with the way I like to play best in a brainstorm sketch. And if I like it enough, I add a little bit of a colored highlight behind it. Notate to myself that it's something I like. And again, sort of really leaning on the original designer's inspiration, so I just sort of do a larger version of that to see if I can more clearly define where I'm going to divide the panels and have the glowing strips and all that stuff. And with it in a place I'm reasonably confident, it's time to move on to a refined sketch. I'm assuming this character is pretty kick-ass considering she wears high-tech armor, she has a scar under her left eye, so she's definitely been in battle or many battles, and being undead is a question mark. I'm gonna guess that she's some sort of protagonist who is more special, and maybe being undead is part of her challenge. But where undead characters are usually pretty unappealing, this undead femme fatale has got to be a little more likable, especially if she's a protagonist trying to overcome the trials of her undeadedness. Now with all the core colours and contrast down, specifically the darks of the armour, the skin tones in the hair, the glow strips all around the armour, adding a bit of texture and colour to the cigar, and with finishing touches of highlights with the white pen, my undead futuristic warrior is ready for battle. I'm really happy with how this has turned out, but I also feel like it could really be elevated digitally. I want to see what it looks like with a bit more glow and a bit more of that cybernetic, futuristic feel. So I'm handing this over to Alicia to digitize and paint up even further to take her far into the future. I found the perfect one for our third, which is by Boot Studio. This African-style character, Wolf Girl translated, she is a wolf she can communicate with the help of her necklace. The reason I want Jazza to fix this art is to motivate my animation team and start making the 2D animation series. Now this sparked my interest not only because the initial design is cool and it's a really unique character prompt, but I was like, okay, hang on, you're an animator. And that pulled me down the rabbit hole of going through Boot Studio's profile. And I'm going to guess based on their Instagram page that this Akun character is from the same sort of universe. He looks tiger inspired and African themed. Here's the teaser for it. There he is. Boom! Love it. So Boot Studio, I'm going to give it a crack and hopefully this will help inspire you and your team. Now I really like your initial sketch. Again, to have it on the page and to use as a reference. And as I do so, I'm sort of trying to get a gauge for what needs to be cut back. Every step you add in the animation process, whether it be an item of clothing or a detail, can become more and more work without you realizing how much you're committing yourself to. So my first sketch was trying to strip back a bunch of those details and get a feel for what could be removed. I'm trying to make it easy to animate while not reducing the detail or style too much to be too cartoony. It's clear you're going for something more graphic novel-esque. Finally, I want to play with colours before I move on to the final piece because while I have a few ideas, I definitely want to see them before I apply them to a final artwork. Now I really don't have any context for the story of this character other than that she can communicate with a wolf thanks to her necklace. So that tells me the necklace is important to make fairly prominent. But other than that, this exercise has been mainly motivated by how I can simplify this character while maintaining the original style. Having the cape over her shoulder not be sort of a shawl that shows the shoulder through it, that would be a pain to animate over time. And the original sketch has a lot of details on the clothes, from straps to wraps. And I know if I were animating that character in some sort of combat scene, I would definitely be wishing that it was a lot simpler. Overall, I'm really happy with the outcome in terms of honouring the original proportions and details, but without having so much detail that she would be very difficult to animate. Now, Boot Studio says that they want to inspire their team to make this animation. And if you have a bunch of friends willing to work on something with you or for you, then power to you. But I know from experience that it's best, especially if you're starting an animation, to figure out how to do it yourself, because you can't guarantee to keep other people motivated on your vision and your project, especially if they're probably not getting paid. But don't worry, there are way more tools and resources out there today to help you be an animator or artist than there ever was, even when I started. And I made a pretty decent career doing independent art and animation before YouTube. Which is a good time for me to point you to some of the resources on the JAZZA'S Studios shop. I have the Animation Foundation, which takes you from the simple through to very complex frame-by-frame animation with examples, with all of the original reference files. It's easy to follow and program agnostic. Ultimately, if you're interested in character design like this, I just released my brand new character design masterclass where I go in depth in a huge amount of detail in taking yourself towards an outcome that you love. And of course, while you're there, check out my awesome digital brushes, my digital painting ebook that I made with Alicia. There's loads more, and it's a direct support to the channel. We're gonna find one more to take over the finish line, and we're gonna go with Stravd's Hank. I just love this character sheet here. We've got their height. He's a boxer by profession. His power is the curse mark of the devil. Favorite weapon is a survival knife, and he's 28 years old. He's been training under the Special Forces for 20 years, since he was 8 years old. That's just wild to think of. My son just turned 9, so he was younger than my son, and I'm just picturing my son training in the Special Forces. He was found on the shore of Cayo Romano, Cuba, USA by the US military. So really wild character prompt to start off with, but actually fairly straightforward design. Let's have a bit of fun with it and see where we end up. Now, I have to be honest, I was mainly drawn to this one because of the backstory and the outcome. It feels sort of like anime-esque, but it also gives me a lot of questions. Like, how was there an 8-year-old that was found on the beach, and why does he have blue hair? And if he was found by the military, why was their first decision to put him in the Special Forces and train him? Well, my mind immediately goes to maybe he's some sort of alien, or maybe he's the escaped child of genetic experiments. I don't know, it really could be any number of things, but it's not normal is the main thing, which is fun. Now, the original head design is fairly straightforward. It mainly has 2 focal points: the lower face mask, which extends up to covering the ears, and the wild spiky blue hair. There aren't so many different ways to draw these, but I did stumble upon the 5th drawing, more of the thicker proportions that I felt worked pretty well, and felt also a little more anime, like reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z, but also trying to honor the original and of course incorporate my own style in there. So I gave another crack at the same sort of proportions and face mask and ended up with something I felt was pretty strong, which I of course needed to put into a bit more of an action fighting pose. He's a boxer, so he's got his left arm up guarding his chin and his right hand lower, ready to punch or of course slash with his trusty survival knife. So with the line work done, it's erasing it and moving on to color, and I really didn't pull away from the original prompt all that much. I had played with the idea of going more Special Forces in the outfit design, but the final character design just seems so intentional. So I want to draw Hank in the way that Stravd imagined him. Simpler in terms of outfit, but really trying to encapsulate as much of that badass coolness as possible. Because this is a guy that doesn't play by the rules, and may also be from another planet. I actually don't know. This is another piece that I am loving the outcome for. I'm glad I didn't stray too far from original Hank because he feels like the same character. So hey, just because we're having fun, let's take this one even further again with Alicia's help, painting it up a bit digitally and giving him an environment to help bring him to life as much as possible. Because this is a guy that has had 20 years to be molded into a killing machine. This has been so much fun, especially because your creativity has inspired me today. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button if you had some fun, and of course subscribe to join for future audacious art. I said thanks for watching. I always say thanks for watching and then come back to saying thank you for watching, but I'm very grateful that you watched. So thanks for watching. Bye.